Welcome to the Tell You Later Show, where you learn so little about so much, and vice versa.
Thanks to all those who support us on Patreon. By the way, there's always room for more.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to their channel.
We haven't got a title song for this show, so we're singing this thing instead.
Okay.
It's really just a substitute. Nonetheless, the melody may stay in your head.
Oh, I hope so.
'Cause it's a tune.
It's a tune.
You'll love to croon.
You'll love to croon.
Ah, but there's one thing you should know. We have to confess we do not possess a title song for this show.
Ain't it peculiar?
Believe it or not, we haven't got a title song for this show.
Oops. Welcome to the Tell You Later Show, Candid Conversations with Katie. I have my special guest, Nick Santa Maria, although my email says Nicholas Santa Maria. So every time I go to send you an email, it doesn't pop up because I forget that there's Nicholas.
I use my proper name. Yeah.
That's your proper name. Do you know what my proper name is?
What?
Catherine.
Catherine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was going to tell you that you have a double Gone with the Wind name. You have Leigh, Vivian Leigh,
Right.
and Scarlett's real first name was Katie Scarlett O'Hara.
Oh, yes, that's true. And my father used to walk around the house like this and say, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn." So he was a big fan of.
Frankly, Scarlett. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Which you are a master of impersonations, voiceovers. So let me explain to the audience why you are my special guest. Okay, and thank you all patrons, everybody who supported the show up until now. We are just so thankful.
Thank you.
So
everybody.
you have heard Will talk about Biffle and Schuster. Well, Will was SHOO Ooster.
Yeah.
And now I have the BIFF Biffle on
That's
the show. And yes, need we say more? Yeah.
Need we say more?
Yes, I think we need to say more, which is why you're here. Because, as you know, you're like best buddies with Will. You're best buddies with Will. I'm best buddies too, but on different coasts. Now you're in the other side.
Right.
But before you went to the dark side, you were over here in LA. And
I call it the traffic sign. Yes.
Traffic side, yeah. And you're the other half of Biffle and Schuster. And whenever I would try to get Will to explain things, I only got like an inch into anything and all heck would break loose. So I really want to hear the story of how you guys met, because you really were only friends about 15 solid years, right?
15 years. Yeah, 15 years.
15 solid years. Solid gold.
Very solid gold is right.
Yeah.
I was disco.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, here's the story in a nutshell, and accent on the nut. We have a mutual friend in Rusty Frank.
Ah.
You know Rusty, right? She is the tap dance queen of that coast.
And swing dancing, I thought.
Swing dancing, but tapping as well.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So she's a tap dance queen.
She actually wrote a book called Tap, where she interviews the surviving, well, not anymore, this was a while ago, but the surviving tap dancers of the old times. You know, before they passed away, she got to interview them. And,
well, that's so interesting. I wonder if in that book is, I don't know if you read Margaret Carey's biography, Tinkerbell.
No, I met her, but I didn't.
Big fat book, but it was very interesting because she was a child star, and her parents took her to some tap people in LA, and they were, African American somewhere in LA, where just like behind the alley, they'd go and teach them how to do tap dancing. It was really fascinating.
That's so funny about the African Americans. You know, they had their own Beverly Hills. The people who were in movies in those days. It was the Central Avenue neighborhood. And the king and queen were Eddie Rochester Anderson, had a big mansion that he actually copied Jack Benny's house from Beverly Hills. It's the exact same house.
Oh my God.
And you can rent it now, by the way. You could take a vacation there if you want and rent it for the week, 2 weeks.
Well,
I don't know.
There's you know a lot of stuff. I don't want to get too far off. I know I'm going to do the same thing I always do. So help me not do that.
Okay.
Because there's a lot. I might have to do 2 or 3 days of talking to you. I don't know. But okay. So Rusty Frank, I did meet her because Will asked me if I wanted to do swing dancing lessons with him when he first started. And she was not too far from here. So I went twice, I think. And I was like, I'm not really very good at this. And I didn't want to be a bad partner. So anyway, yes, I did meet her.
So Rusty and I met at the Old Town Music Hall in El Segundo. And Janet Klein was appearing. I had never seen her before. And I went on my own. I was living alone at the time. And Rusty just started talking to me. And I was online to say hello to Janet and tell her how much I enjoyed it. And Rusty just totally pumped me for information. Who are you? Blah, blah, blah. She realized that we spoke the same language. We loved the same old, movies and stuff like that. And she eventually said to me, I have someone you have to meet. You two it would be so great if you two could meet. Now, I left this out of the tribute I had written for Will, but she followed up with, as long as you don't mind the name dropping. That's what she said. He's very clumsy with names. Dropping.
Well, that's what I was telling somebody who I talked to somebody before I got on here with you, and he had started watching Tell You Later. I said, Will would say things and I wanted to know more, but I would never, because sometimes you wouldn't even if you asked him about it, you wouldn't find out more. Like I kept thinking, maybe you know the answer to this. Why was he having lunch weekly with Milton Berle? How the heck did that happen? So if you can answer that question, you get a bonus prize. Okay.
No, Will would go to the Friars Club as a guest. And of course,
a guest of who?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure who it was. It might have been, I forget. There were two. It was June Will and somebody else.
Do you think June Foray or Paul Winchell belonged to the Friars Club?
No, I no. No, I haven't.
Comedians mainly, right?
I'm sorry?
Was it comedians mainly?
Yeah. It doesn't exist anymore, but back then they were trying to make it like the New York Friars Club, which was wall-to-wall comedians, but also businessmen. It was a very upscale kind of place. And the New York one is still there. I go occasionally when I'm in New York, but the LA. So Berle was always there. And sometimes he was sitting at his table alone. So, Will approached him and he was happy for an audience, and they sat down, and that was it. He became buddies with Berle.
Let me just highlight the fact that people are always hesitant to approach celebrities, right? A lot of times they think, oh, I don't want to bother them. But if you're not stalking somebody and you're genuinely appreciative of them or excited to meet them, I don't think there's anybody, very few, who would reject a sincere compliment, a nice to meet you, right? Because we're all people. And I know that's one of Will's sensitive spots, that he knew everybody really wanted to keep acting and doing what they do for an audience. And that's why he'd always try to include them, especially the older folks who people thought weren't interested anymore. But I don't think any of us go to our graves not interested anymore, right?
No, I agree. I totally agree. And I'll go even further. The Biffle and Schuster movies were, Michael Schlesinger felt the exact same way. He hired veterans to take care of it. That's why they look so good. Everybody was older. Everybody was not being hired by the mainstream anymore. And even some of the actors. H.M. Wynant was in his early 90s when he played the part in the Biffle murder case. So he was very, very aware of that. And we all were. We loved the old timers, you know? There were no professionals like the old timers.
So speaking of name dropping, she introduced you to Will. Rusty.
Yes. Right. She arranged a meeting at her place, and this is how Will greeted me. This is the very first thing he said to me. I said, "Hi, I'm Nick." And he said, "Hi, I'm Will, and I can't get you voiceover work." He said, I've heard him say that to other people as well, because the first thing actors say to him are, "Oh, could I meet your agent, or can I get it?" Didn't enter my mind, to be honest with you. So we had a good laugh over that, and we became like this.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
It was, you know, Damon and Pythias. It was. We were a natural. We were a natural team.
Who's Damon and Pythias?
They played Vegas in the lounge with Mitzi Gaynor and Debbie Reynolds.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll have to. Okay, well, whoever they are, sounds good.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because for years and years and years, I wanted Will to meet my friend Perry Shields.
I love Perry.
Oh, I'd always say, Will, you got to meet this guy, because Perry, who it turns out you all will find out is a mutual friend of ours, and now eventually did meet Will. But for years, I'd say, Perry loved horror movies. He knew all the old stuff. He had all this trivia in his head, and I knew Will liked that stuff too. And I'd say, you got to meet, and it never worked out until Will met you. Somehow you knew Perry, and they finally met. So maybe you can talk about how that happened. But that didn't happen until after Biffle and Schuster, right?
Well, I knew Perry before Biffle and Schuster through the Sons of the Desert, the Laurel and Hardy organization.
Ah, wow.
So I would go to screenings, and I eventually met him. And then, of course, we started talking about the Universal monster movies and all that stuff. Perry's just one of the gang. He's one of that group. And he played a part in Schmoboat in one of the.
I know, and I saw him, and his wife did too, who's a friend of mine. I think Cindy performed.
Oh, I know Cindy very well. Yeah, but she's not in any of the movies. But she was. She's doing so well. She doesn't beat us.
Well, anyway, so that was crazy when I finally met you, and at the time, you actually lived near us, like in Redondo.
I was in Redondo Beach. Yeah. My favorite place in the world.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Pretty nice here. So I was like, where did this guy come from? So Rusty introduced you. You guys hit it off and just started talking about everything you have in common, I imagine, for hours on end.
And not just that, we started harmonizing. He would play and we would sing.
You both play the ukulele.
He played it. He was a virtuoso. I play in the key of C.
Whatever works.
Yeah, whatever works, and it works for me. It's okay.
And he was a very giving person, because obviously we sang a lot of songs together, and I'm no singer, so he would just bear with me.
You hit that note at the end of the opening theme song.
I did.
You go up and down together. You know, at the end.
Well,
you're there. You're right there.
I lucked out. Yeah. And I think it's so funny, because there's one note that Will felt he messed up, and he kept saying, "Oh, we need to redo the theme song." And our crew of one said, "No, it's fine just the way it is." And I like it the way it is. He thought it was too long. I said, "No, people get used to it. They don't want you to
get it out of my head." It's so catchy. You know, it's so catchy.
It is. So I'm thankful for it. He would just show up and say, "Well, I wrote here, I have this song," and then he'd play it once or twice. I'd try to sing along. I'm like, okay, good enough. That's a wrap. Let's move on.
Moving on. No, he's pretty meticulous. He really is. He's also meticulous about things like copyright. I'm saying he was also meticulous about like copyrights and things like that. He didn't want to step on any toes.
No, very considerate. I think that people, like, they don't realize this is a guy who knew just about everybody in Hollywood, ingratiated himself in every crowd, didn't drink alcohol, coffee, didn't smoke, did not swear. I won't say he never said a bad word about anybody, but I will say he did not swear.
Well, no, he had. I've seen him.
He had opinions. He had opinion, but he was very careful about his language. And somebody asked me, "Did that have to do with religion?" I said, "No." And you see if you corroborate. That sounds like cardboard, doesn't it? Corroborate, but that's something else. That's corrugate. Anyway, Will just felt like there were many more creative ways to express oneself, and he didn't want to lower himself to that vulgar language of the streets.
Yeah. No, I always said it was like he walked out of an Ozzie and Harriet episode, you know?
Absolutely.
Completely clean, you know, no alcohol, no smoking, no drugs ever. He was just, you know, and he was part of that music culture early on in Cleveland. You know, when you listen to his Willio and Filio stuff, you know, it's very almost psychedelic at times. And he did it without enhancement.
Yeah, well, he was blessed with a brain that went crazy on its own. Yeah, I always say he was a walking anachronism.
Yes, he was. He was more so than I was. I always say that I'm a nerd who doesn't look like one.
Well, I didn't know I was a nerd until and I found this record. Will and I used to do a lot of stuff together before you took over. Anyway, but we went to a few Comic-Cons together, and I'm about to re-listen to, and I'll probably release it. I had a computer before he did, and we were driving to San Diego, and I just turned on the recording. This was like 2002, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, so I want to listen and see what the heck we were talking about. But what is my point about this? Nerds. Hello.
Nerds.
Not just candy. They're actually walking, talking people. So we went to Comic-Con, and the first one I went to, I was like, these people are really weird. And then the next year I was like, oh, hi, I remember you from before. By the third year, I thought, yeah, I guess I belong here.
We accept you.
I guess I don't have to get dressed up, but I think I do fit in. Okay, so how did
Wonder Woman or anything?
No, I'm not as you could tell prior to this. Makeup is not my best friend. I'm not into it. Like, you know, I wish, because I certainly would look better if it was. But
I think you look fine, Katie. For the record.
Thank you very much. Are we making a record?
Yeah. Didn't you know?
Didn't know. I didn't know.
I've been in the group since we started.
I thought you were groovy. Speaking of, watching the Beatles show.
This record's no good. It's got a hole in it. The Get Back. I don't know about you, but I was so grateful to be a fly on the wall, you know?
That's all it is. That's all it is. Like, this is their writing their music. It was so, because I was saying to my husband, you know, we hear the song from the album. That's what's stuck in our head. But now we're actually getting to see them sing it
and create
at the time. Yeah.
It's like watching a miracle happen. That's what I said. When he sits down to write Get Back, and it didn't sound anything like it at first, and then slowly it became the song we love. It's like a miracle.
It's encouraging too, because people can see how much goes into persevering to create a song and the collaboration with the other people. And so, speaking of collaboration, let's get back to how Biffle and Schuster got formed. Yeah. How did that happen? Is that the first thing you guys did together?
Well, this is interesting. Will came up with the names because he said that Biffle was based on Phil Silver's character in a show called Top Banana. Okay. And his name was Jerry Biffle. So he took Biffle from there. And then he said, every team seems to have a Schuster in it. There was Wayne and Schuster from Canada, Simon and Schuster Publishing. And those are the only two he came up with.
With U's, right?
Right, both with U's. So he did the 00, and he said to me, let's become a team, like an old time comedy team called Biffle and Schuster. And I was like, why don't we use our own names? You know, if this should
you don't live in the land of anonymity like Will does, which unfortunately we have to talk about because nobody will put the two together, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what I thought. And then we did a couple of assisted living places. We went, and this is funny. We assumed they were going to love like Eddie Cantor and Al Jolson songs and Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra, Elvis, the Beatles, Bob Dylan. You know what I mean? It's like, I forget that is their time. That was their music. My parents were Glenn Miller and Benny Goodman and all that stuff. Wow. So we had a rude awakening there. We had to do the thing. I did a bit
Elvis there. As Biffle?
Actually, I did. I used to do it in our live shows, but I didn't use any words. It was all sounds. You know, it was just the noises, and it always got a big hand. You know, so I developed that there, but that was all we did. We kind of left it at that point, and we started other projects. We started writing a play called the Harry Rice Project, and it was about an old time radio comedian. And it was the first act was going to be their very first show. Everybody's fresh, everybody's happy, everybody's good. The second act is the very last show, 20 years later.
Oh, wow.
And it's not so pleasant anymore. So we started writing that. But going back to the Beatles, and I don't know if you noticed, Paul was trying to keep everything together.
Yeah, I was like, come on, guys, we need somebody to keep us organized. Yeah.
And professional, you know. But Will, you know Will, he tells stories. He would tell stories. So we would start writing, and then, you know, we'd write 2 words, and then I'd sit back and he'd tell, you know, a 20-minute story. And then I'd say, okay, let's get back. We'd write 2 words. I'd sit back and tell another story. But the play didn't get written because of that. You know what I mean? Will is just...
Maybe you can finish it.
Well, I love the idea. But again, it's a play about radio. It's another niche thing, you know, about like my Abbott and Costello book. You know, it's niche. Not everyone's going to want it.
Things come back. The thing is, if your characters are good and your plot is good, it really doesn't matter what it's about, right? I mean, and it's educational because we would often talk about things, and Will had a huge vocabulary and would use it. And I'd say, good, because they need to look it up. They need to learn these things. We shouldn't dumb down anything for people.
Oh, I'm dead set against that. Dead set against dumbing down. They're dumb enough as it is. They don't need any more down. So anyway, so we spent years actually just writing things and singing, and he would include me in some of his Cactus Cowboy shows. And
yeah, I know people can see that on YouTube. There's some really neat stuff.
Beautiful stuff. His songs are so beautiful. But also, I was going to say that during that time, I was on the road for a while with the producers, with Mel Brooks's show. So I worked for Mel for like 5 years. So I was in that.
How was that? Getting
great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did he tell stories? Did he talk to you about Sid Caesar? Or?
We had something very big in common, the two of us. We both loved the Ritz brothers, especially Harry Ritz. And Harry was a friend of mine. I ingratiated myself with them. They came to, when I was like 19 years old, they came to Miami Beach and did their last live appearance. I went to all 5 shows and went backstage each time.
I'm sure they were like so tickled that somebody your age was interested in them. Yeah, that's great. It's a little bit unclear, but...
I'm sorry about that. But it's the Ritz brothers, and that's Red Skelton and me.
Oh my gosh, wow.
I love Red Skelton.
So you've been into this stuff forever.
Since I'm 5 years old. I was telling somebody the other day, actually Luke Costello's daughter, Chris, that when I was 5, I saw him for the first time, and it just went ding. I knew exactly what I was going to be at that moment, which made school horrible for me because it's like, that has nothing to do with what I'm going to do with my life, you know? So it was torturous. But
just for the young people listening out there, let me just add that it doesn't hurt to go to school and broaden your knowledge of things. It doesn't mean that it all comes into play. You never know when you're going to get a script or you're going to get something and it'll have a reference and you'll know about it because you were educated.
Right. True. I have less faith in the educational system than you do, but yes, true. Like George Carlin says, they're training kids to be good little consumers when they come out.
This is, but expand your horizons somehow.
Yeah, well, I was a reader. I read everything, So, so what was I saying? Oh, so let's get back to So I was away for a good amount of time. And when we opened in Las Vegas, we had a sort of a 90-minute version of the show. And we had David Hasselhoff played Roger Dupree at one point. And during rehearsal, we knew what we were in for. There's a line, Oedipus won't bomb if he ends up with mom. That's the lyric. And he couldn't pronounce Oedipus. He lit Oedipus, and we're just like,
well, see, it helps to know stuff.
If he went to school and listened.
That's right.
So anyway, we did that. I did that, and
everybody else knows Oedipus from the producers.
Exactly. Actually, from a Woody Allen play for me, it's Oedipus Rex, W-R-E-C-K-S. So Rusty and Will came to the opening night in Las Vegas and got to go to the party and meet all the celebrities. And, it was a lot of fun. Always supportive.
Yeah, he would drive to Las Vegas just for a day to go do something. I remember because he was good friends with Valentine Vox, the ventriloquist, who I think there's a ventriloquist museum in Las Vegas. Is that right?
Yes. And he was the head of the organization. I don't want to say a union, but it was an organization of ventriloquists, which must have been funny, the meetings, because you never know who's talking. Ventriloquism for dummies.
To enjoy the full episode, please support us at patreon.com/tellyolater. Thanks a lot.
3 years later, and he wrote 4 Biffle and Schuster shorts, and we were going to film them in 5 weeks.
Now, did you ever record any in shorts?
Tell you later. You see what she just did?
I just slipped that in there.
Tell You Later is a Patreon-driven entertainment show. So what are you waiting for? Come on over. Join us at patreon.com/Tell You Later.
Languid fiddle.
It is that time again, everybody, for the end of the month scrubulator drawing. I have a new pattern here. Isn't that cool? I love this one. I like to change it up. This is a Tell You Later official scrubulator handmade by me, Katie Leigh. I don't know if you can see my little taggy. I don't know. Crew of One says yes, you can see it. You can scrub yourself, or you can scrub your dishes, or you can wash your Barbie doll or your car, whatever you want. Okay, whatever you want to scrub. Let's see. I got all the names in here. Who will it be? It is Kim Gjorkas, an Oddissimo level patron, wins a scrubulator. Thank you, Kim, for support. Yay, that's a cool one. Cheering in the background with me. Thank you so much for your support. I hope you love your scrubulator. You can even sleep with it if you want to. Anyway, thank you very much, and we'll see you next month.